Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. So I did my story recently on why I left the police, which was the first real long form content that I did on my channel. And I always said that I would follow that up. So I had a lot of people when I was going through what I did with the police and leaving, and obviously the podcast that I did with James English. I had a lot of people reaching out, and then since I've done that YouTube video about why I left the police and posted it on my YouTube channel, I've also had comments and people reaching out in DMs across other social media pages, giving me their stories and or giving me like words of encouragement and stuff like that. So I think that for everything that I went through and for everything that happened to me, I always said that for all of that, at least I want other people to be able to get something out of it, for me to be able to share my story, for me to be able to inspire other people to stand up for themselves, and to highlight the fact that yes, we are now in 2024, but actually bullying and harassment is very rife in the workplace. Very, very rife. And it doesn't matter which organisation you work for. It could be the police, it could be medical profession, you could be a nurse, you could be a doctor, you could be a teacher. All sorts of people have reached out to me and they've been like, I've experienced this, or I've experienced that, or your story has really inspired me. And I think that those messages that I've got need to be shared. They need to be shared with my, my social media family, if you like, because that's what I consider you guys to be. So that maybe you can take a little bit of something out of that. Because it's all and well me getting that information fed back to me, but sometimes it's about sharing it, because I believe that a problem shared is a problem halved. And obviously by me talking about the issues, it might encourage more people to actually stand up for themselves. So if they end up in a toxic environment, such as the workplace, such as a relationship, they might be like, yes, I don't want to fall into the same trap that Lee did, which was stick it out for a long time at the detriment of my own mental health. It might encourage people to actually stand up for themselves and leave that toxic environment. And that is something that I regret massively. And I always wish that I'd done that sooner. But the past is the past. We can't change it. However, we can pave the way for the future, so we can make things better. We can share our stories, we can share our experiences in the hope that at least one person out there gets something out of it, and that they can use that to be like the fire in their belly, or whatever you want to call it, to actually, push on through the hard times, stand up for themselves and put a stop to it. Bullying and harassment, we think it just is something that happens at school, in the playground, bully boy tactics, but it's not. It's real life, and it's so rife out there. Organisations these days, like, we have HR department, we have a team that deal with this. We don't tolerate it in this organisation. These are our morals, these are our values, these are our whatever rules that they enforce in whatever organisation it is that you work for. But do they actually abide by them? And when staff reach out and say, I'm having this problem, do they actually investigate it? Or does the individual become labelled as a problem child? Because that's what happened to me in the police. I became labelled as a problem child. So it was a push to get me out, because obviously people were continually bullying, continual harassment. So sometimes it feels like if I do stand up for myself, no one's going to take me seriously, or I'm going to be labelled, and then it's not going to be good for my progression and my career will be over. So that's why people they just sit on it and they don't say anything. So I'm going to be looking down, because obviously I want to read through some of the messages. I'm not going to identify any organisations or any names or anything like that, or make it very specific about a person, because that's not what it's about. It's not naming and shaming. That's not my style. I could do that. I could reel off all the people that have done me wrong, even the ones who think that I don't know. But that's not my style. I'm not about that. I'm about learning from experiences and not being like the bullies, because if I do that, I'm just becoming one of them, aren't I? So that's not what it's about. So this first message that I got said that I've just seen your podcast on James English. So if you don't remember, I did a podcast with James English back in May of 2023, I think it was now, where I gave my story on why I left the police. So if you haven't seen it, I do suggest you look up James English, Leanne Carr, and it'll come up. And they've said, I just wanted to say, well done you. I wish you every success in the future. I worked for such and such police, which is a British force, as a 999's call handler for 2 years. they very nearly took my life. And I resonate with that, because if you remember in my podcast, and I've spoke about it in my YouTube video, you know, bullying and harassment, it hurts you that bad that you actually contemplate your own life. I did it, you know. It's a very, very dark place to be in, and sometimes you see no way out, but there is a way out. Let me reassure you, there is always a way out. And sometimes it's about opening up and speaking about it, and not boxing it up, something which I am also not very good at. So I need to be a bit more practice what you preach, Lee. Because I didn't realise that there's so many messages to get through. I didn't realise that I was going to get such a good reception to me asking people to reach out if they suffered with bullying and harassment, or for people to I didn't expect people to respond to the James English podcast in the way that they did. That I am going to break this video down into 3 segments. So this is going to be part 1, and it's basically responding to messages and DMs that I've got, talking about like mental health, bullying, harassment, and just words of encouragement, really. This person worked for 2 years and nearly took their life. Misconduct for something that they didn't do, and was told I was being made an example of. Classic, you know, problem child, labelled, and then from that point on it's very difficult, isn't it? They've gone on to say, head of the call centre was devastated and he even fought my corner, but the chief constable was having none of it. I couldn't go home due to the shame. I took an overdose and thankfully was found. So this has already given me like goosebumps, because it is so sad. That's the deep, dark depths of despair that I often talk about in some of my videos. And I now dedicate my time working as a PA and a care assistant to the elderly and those that are ill. I love my job and I've done it forever, but I also love this. Things are sent to make us stronger. So even this individual who's been through that, they've taken an overdose, they've been found, you know, they agree with what I was saying at the beginning of this video. Some things, you know, they're just a lesson. They're a lesson. From everything we can take something and learn from it. Even though it feels at the time like it's like the worst situation to be in, you can always push through. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. It just doesn't feel like it at the time when you're in the middle of it. Keep doing what you're doing. You're not alone. Really nice message, supportive one. But just again to highlight, they're from a different, completely different police force to one that I was in, but also experienced issues as a civilian. So hello Leanne, slightly random, but I came across you on the James English podcast. I've watched it twice, and as someone currently experiencing discrimination and the knock-on effects of the whole process, different employer, they've said, I found your honesty and strength really inspiring and validating, so thank you for sharing your story. So again, another individual who's reached out, who's also had issues with discrimination and the knock-on effects that it has on an individual. So there we go. Let's see if that one. Haley and Cara, just wanted to say how awesome your Instagram account is. I love that you discuss important topics like mental health, share fitness and inspiration, and show off your gaming skills as a streamer. Keep spreading positivity and being a role model. You're doing an incredible work. So although it's not specifically about like bullying and harassment, it's positive, it's motivating, it's reassurance to me that actually what I'm doing is helping other people, and I'm being seen as a role model, and I'm being seen as inspiration for others. I mean, I'm not sure about the skills as a gaming streamer. That's something I do need to work on, but we can all work on something, some elements of our life, can't we? Let's have a look what this one says. Just got round to listening to your podcast with James English. I remember hearing your story but never really listened to media. So much to say, but more importantly, I'm in awe of your fight and strength. Keep going, and I hope one day justice is served. So obviously people are always like, in a lot of these messages, it's like, I'm in awe of your strength and your courage, and you're an inspiration. Let me tell you now that even if you're feeling really low right now, to somebody else you're a hero because of what you've been through. Like, I don't feel as though like I had a lot of fight and strength back then. It's only in recent times that I've actually, you know, shared my story. For years and years, like 13 years as a police officer, a year as a civilian, I basically just shut up and put up. Like, I did try and stand my corner, I did raise unfairness at work proceedings, I did do all of that, but I was kind of shoved in a corner or put in a box of too difficult to handle. And then, like I said, I became the problem child, because obviously I didn't roll over. I didn't roll over and accept the constant misconduct accusations that were thrown at me. I tried to stand up for myself. I tried to, to make an organisation that's very archaic understand that how social media works, and how, how I felt that I was being bullied and harassed. Not that it got me anywhere, but I tried. So what my point is in this, whilst you look at me and you're like inspiring, motivating, strong, whatever, I've not always been this person. I've been that person who couldn't drag themselves out of bed. I've been that person that struggled so much to function, crying all the time, not eating, eating too much, not eating at all, struggling to deal with like day-to-day tasks that people take for granted. Just brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, getting on with your life, going out, leaving the house. All of those things are really, really hard to do when you're depressed and you suffer with anxiety. The very thought of leaving your house, especially with me, when there was all those articles going out in the newspapers and on the media on a worldwide basis, I was like, if I go to the gym or if I go to the supermarket, what if I bump into somebody? Or what if I bump into some of the people who have caused me that harm? How am I going to react? How am I going to deal with this? Because right now inside I'm not feeling very strong. So my point is, we have to go through the motions. We'll have good days where we're feeling on top of the world and we're feeling strong, and we'll have other days where we question our entire worth. So it's good to feel all those emotions, because it just reminds us that we are actually real humans. We're not superheroes. We're not. Let's have a look. Sorry to DM out the blue. No doubt you're inundated with messages. I've been passed your name by a friend due to your position about being ex-job, and I'm in a similar place now. So it doesn't say much about how, but they want to know about how I've been treated, how I felt, and what decisions you made along the way, etc., etc. So I guess I can answer that here, because I said at the beginning of the YouTube video, I am, as the person says, inundated with messages and stuff like that, and I can't respond to everyone's DMs, which is why I wanted to do this video, because I wanted to, answer some of these, because they're very valid and they might actually help somebody else. So my thoughts on how we were treated: disgusting. Like, we are in 2024. You would think that in certain organisations, we don't behave like animals and we look after each other. My biggest part about this, or point about this, was like, as police officers, you're meant to go and keep the peace. You're meant to serve and protect. You're meant to prevent people from coming to harm. A massive pill to swallow when actually in your own station, in your own workplace, you are being treated the way that you are trained not to treat other people. Like, it's a very difficult one to deal with. And to then take on the police and to stand up for yourself and to say this isn't right, that's actually a massive step to take. So it made me feel like worthless. It made me feel like I was a problem. It made me feel like I didn't even want to exist anymore. It made me feel demotivated, devalued, and just like a nobody. It made me feel like I was wrong, even though I knew I was right and I was standing up for myself. As soon as a misconduct accusation was cleared, another one would be slung at me. And I just got to the point where I was like, what is the point in fighting constantly for all these years, when each time one misconduct matter was cleared up, another one would be slung at me? I was like, there's nothing I can do. I had meetings, I called meetings, I tried to get support. I had federation reps from out of force that would come in, because I was like, clearly I can't trust anyone within my own organisation. And even they struggled to get through to my organisation. So it was just a constant battle at the detriment of my mental health, to the point where I wanted to take my life. And I had at that point my eldest child, and obviously now I've got two little people, and it's only because of that I get up every day and I keep going, because I want to be strong. I want to be strong. It doesn't mean that some days I'm not feeling strong, but they are my reason for keep pushing. They are my reason to keep motivated, to keep going strong. So when you are feeling like this and you say you're in a similar place now, you've got to find your reason. your reason to fight? Is it because you want to share your story, much like I am now? Is it because you want to change the other people's beliefs and things like that? Is it because you want to make a family member proud? You have to hold on to something and understand why it is that you're fighting. And for me, it was for my young children, to make them see me as a strong, independent woman, and that I'm a superhero to them. In their eyes, I'm a superhero. Inside, I was like nothing, but to them, I was something. So that's my point, would be to find something. What is a reason? What is your reason for existing? We all have one. I promise you, we all have one. It just doesn't feel like it at times. And the decisions I made along the way were to fight to the point where I was just wiped out. I was getting ill all the time with like colds and stuff like that because I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was depressed, suffering with anxiety, and I just made a decision in the end to get out, because if I didn't get out, I'm not sure I would be even here today to tell this story. So moving on, I've just watched your podcast and sat here in pieces as I'm currently struggling with my mental health, and I've broken down so much this week to the point I'm seeing a counsellor tomorrow. I hope you found peace and a happier person. So this person doesn't say that particularly their mental health issues are caused by a similar incident. However, it just shows the impact that me sharing my story has on other individuals. They struggle with their mental health. They've broken down so much this week and they're seeing a counsellor. So for that, I just say, well done you, because I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't very good at reaching out to somebody else. I wasn't good at realising that I had an issue. Like, yes, I went to see a doctor, and yes, I went to the Force Occupational Health Unit because they referred me. But that was because I had to, if that makes sense. That was because I had to, not because I wanted to. But obviously reaching out to a counsellor and having an appointment, you're doing that because you want to, because you recognise that you need that help and support. So I just think hats off. You already demonstrate that you are in control. You might not feel like you're in control of your mental health, but you're taking steps to make that better, which is something.